All right. So we are starting off with a leg day, and I was getting going with some kettlebell swings. And this was a hinge first day for leg day. So I always get warmed up with some kettlebell swings. I think that they are a very low demand, just great exercise to get warmed up with in general, because I think they get your hips and your hamstrings firing, but they do not do a ton of a load. By the way, if you're ever looking for a great challenge, do one of those 10,000 kettlebell swing challenges. I guarantee your deadlift will go up. I guarantee you will feel better overall. Your fitness, everything, you'll feel better. So I start off here, and I was doing an Eddie Coan frog sumo just to keep things kind of moving along. I think it's always important to rotate exercise, not just do the same thing over and over, especially when you're process of getting yourself back into shape. But I am going to be quiet for a second because after this first set, I was getting back into a challenge I am doing for the San Jose Earthquakes, adding 20 pounds for each win. Let's listen in. So yeah, then keeping on with my warm up here, as I just work my way up, just getting everything going. And again, I probably do more sets and reps than what some people would advise, but I think the most important thing for me is to be completely warmed up and completely just feeling as good as possible. Also, the one thing that I think you should note on these is I do a pretty good job of keeping the bar really close to my shins. And that's a cue that a lot of people have talked about. Is, you want to be scraping the front of your shins. I don't know if they literally mean that, because if you're at a public gym, don't nobody wants your bloody ass shins all over the bar. But if it's your home gym and you're wearing pants, then yeah, um, again, that's something that I think I do pretty well. I pull my lats down and back and just keep on working my way up. Those gold plates, those are 100-pound plates. Got those recently. I was stoked about them. You've seen them in the background. They are really hard to deal with to move around, but I'm a big fan. They're gold. They look cool. They're 100 pounds. I got them for belt squat, specifically because the pin is short and you can only load so much. But actually, I just kind of like using them on deadlift. They look cool. I want to redo the spray pan. I got them used, obviously, from a dude who was selling stuff from a former CrossFit gym owner. But yeah, they look great. Let's see. This is three. No, that's 52.95. I think at this point I'm just working up with doubles and yeah, just working my way up. This is the way that it is. I think I maxed out on this day at 355. I could have done more. I always go that. It's like I get to a place where I think, okay, was that a little bit challenging? Yes. Do I want to get to a place, especially with legs? I think upper body you can push a little bit more. But in my opinion, you don't want to kill yourself, going to a true one rep maximum. I think you just go to what feels like a good heavy double or single and then go from there. And this was all pretty easy. Now I'm at, let's see, 335 here with a 45 added to each side. Feeling good. I think I thought about doing a double there, but I was like, save it for the next one. And then this one, I was a little bit slow off the floor. It's harder for me off the floor in the frog style. Yeah, I'm like, all right, that's good. Now back to my hypertrophy after I worked some strength. Did 3 sets at 225. I think this first one, I had a bad grip and I realized, Ted, use your straps. You don't want to be worried about your grip. Sometimes you just kind of forget to focus. I don't know if I'm the only one that's guilty of that. It's like you just, because you're doing more reps, you don't think about the overall grip aspect as well. But now for the next 2 sets, I'll be strapping in. And I think that when you go wide like this, you feel it in your groin and you also feel it outside on the more lateral aspect of your hamstring, which I love because that's often a point of tightness for me. And when I do these, I feel like the muscle by getting activated starts to feel a little bit better. At this point, yeah, second set, feeling a little tired. Went for one more rep, pretty much just all hamstrings, not a lot of quad drive out of that one. Then the third and final set, I got like, I don't know, 7 or 8. I was just a little bit gassed. This is the other part of it when you're getting back into shape. Sometimes your cardio capacity, your metabolic conditioning is the limiting factor, not the muscles. I feel like my muscles were hitting failure here. But I could also tell that I was huffing and puffing. I was like, oof. And also, if you're huffing and puffing, you're more likely to not be able to hold the core bracing. And when you don't have the core bracing, you can get into trouble. So now I'm back to back squats. And I told you guys the other day my knee wasn't feeling good, so I shut it down. It was a knee pain I had never felt before. This day I went back to it and did back squats. And you see me starting off with the flat ground. And I put those plates on the ground as I go up and weight to increase the distance. And everything was feeling good. That's the important thing about understanding training at 42. If something doesn't feel right, you're not going to become Mr. Olympia by pushing through that workout. If you're a competitive athlete, you have to weigh the risk and decide that for yourself. But for me, that was a day where I didn't feel great. Now I was back at it a couple days later, and everything was going along nicely. Now you see I've added a 10 to each side. I've got a 10 on the ground. So I'm increasing the distance between my rear ends and the bench. I know this is not for everyone. I think it's a great way for me to really slowly work my way into a range of motion, and I like it. I also, when I'm doing these, just to focus on the stretch, you'll see me do a couple of reps where I just barely touch my rear end to the bench, like that last one. Um, and that's again, you're kind of moving away and trying to get into that deeper squat position. And some people say, "Oh, Ted, you can't change it up." You can do whatever you want, guys. There are no rules. That one, just a very light touch, just reaching back. That one, more of a sit. But yeah, I'm going up in weight. I'm increasing the range of motion. And this works for me to get warmed up. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But I wouldn't not try it, guys. There's some great little hacks to working on your mobility if you're a guy like me who does not have the best hips in the world. Um, yeah, I'm still going up in weight. And I didn't want to do anything too extreme here. So again, still just adding on. But after this, when things were feeling good, I brought out my 12-inch box, which for me is a great way to hit depth, and worked on that. But what's weird is that somebody would tell you, oh, each rep, if you're changing your target, each rep doesn't look the same. I would argue that they do look very similar despite the different heights that you have to get to or the different depths that you have to get to. I think they're all very similar. So at this point, I'm trying to remember what I did next. Yeah, I've got a 35 and a 10. This is getting close to a parallel squat to me. You can tell that I'm going up higher and higher on where the bar is, where I got to get in. But actually, to kind of duck under and pull tight, I don't mind it. I didn't like my perch there. I wasn't low enough on my traps. These are still high bar squats, obviously, but you can tell I've got a lot greater distance to go down now. And you'll feel these in your quads, even if it's not the full distance. And again, I'm not a 90-degree guy like Joel Seedman. That guy I don't care for. But for me, increasing my depth slowly at first to warm up my hips, it works. And so now I've got my box. It's 12 inches tall. For one, it's 12, 16, and 18, I believe. But the shortest one is 12. And I'm just going to go down, make sure I get that full depth. Yeah, that's for me and my hips, a fairly deep squat. I can't be too upset with hitting that. And again, no knee pain, which was, a big concern, not a huge concern, but it was like, if your knees hurt, don't push it. There's not a lot to be gained. A little bit of backgrounding there at the bottom where I've got the butt wink, but I know some people freak out about that. If I walk away and I don't have any back pain, if I don't feel like I'm getting a back pump, if I feel like everything that is, going into my quads, and I feel like I'm doing things right. I think people overcomplicate these things. I changed the box setup a little bit. Yeah, that's for me. Again, not going to get too much more depth, but for me, my hip crease is going below my knee. I could get on a slant board and do some more. I'm actually recording this on the 6th, and this was on the 2nd that I did this, as I got to get caught up. It's a busy week. Today, Thursday, is our third Sharks game in 4 days. And I also had Earthquakes dinner to host and some taxes to do. So, yeah, again, I'm just feeling my way through these sets. And my goal was not to kill myself. It was to make sure that my knee thing was a 1 day thing. And then today, I am going to do some slant board stuff with some lighter weights because, again, you have to mix it all in. There should be heavy days, there should be light days, there should be medium days. Um, some, for me, for upper body stuff where I don't have the same mobility restrictions, I can go a little bit heavier and harder. But for lower body, where I can run into issues and nobody wants to get derailed with a hip or knee injury, you got to figure out what works for you. And that's one of the things that I say over and over and over. If it works for you, it works for you. Take advice from everyone. Take advice from every single person there is out there, but also then use that advice to figure out what works for you. And then I went into some sandbag good mornings, or whatever you want to call these, and again, feels like it is ripping my glutes off of my pelvic girdle. Incredible exercise. I don't like good mornings. These are similar. You can really kind of drop down with the weight. I love them. Absolutely love them. I think they're a phenomenal exercise for me. So I did a set with the 100 bag, and then I got a set here with the 200 bag. Probably should have gotten it a little bit higher, but I was feeling pretty fried by this point. God, it's a great exercise. I know not everybody has sandbags, but if you do, try them. You'll love them. And again, I can feel it starting to slip. Got to, I think 5 or 6 reps there. Yeah, give it the donezo. So yeah, this was my session, and it was a good day. My goals were to get through it without any knee pain because the previous leg session I'd had some, and I did so. So yeah, and then again, very busy week. Like I've been saying, life gets busy, gets complicated, life gets very much in your face. On Tuesday, I was super busy all day long. I did not have the ability to train. Monday, I only got in a morning cardio conditioning session, which I'll show to you. And then on Wednesday, I had to split up my upper body with back or push and pull in one session, then arms later. I forgot to record the arms. I apologize. I got home late after a dinner I was hosting and just meted out and worked my way through it. But I've had to adapt and figure it out along the way. So that's how it goes for everybody. You have to figure out what works for you. And sometimes there are issues like you don't want to caffeinate at night if you're tired because then you won't be able to sleep and things like that. But it's all about figuring it out, everybody, doing what works for you, getting the training sessions in. It's okay to miss a day of training. I know everybody gets stuck in, but that's why I go, upper body, lower body. I switch it off because if you do have to miss it, if you have an asynchronous split the way I do, it doesn't hurt if you have to skip a day. I did get in some cardio conditioning on Monday, which I did some cleans and I did some snatches and I did some kettlebell swings and I did some stuff on my fan bike. And yeah, that was still, I feel like I hit most of my body in that workout, even if it's not for hypertrophy training. The only thing I wasn't specifically doing was a push or a traditional pull this way. But yeah, I mean, if you're hinging, if you're lifting something from the ground and bringing it up to here or overhead in a snatch, yeah, that's going to get your entire body. And a day of rest is good. Don't let your entire week or reality be defined by rest. But if the day doesn't allow it, you're probably better off with getting more sleep than trying to push it to get more training in, if we're all being honest. But all right, we're out of time. Well, actually, I have all the time in the world, but I'm out of patience with you at this point. So thanks for tuning in as always. Be good.